Hello Mavericks and welcome to today's currency recap. It is Thursday, October the 5th. In today's currency recap, we're going to be doing a review of the trading day, going through any meaningful news, taking a look at the broader equity and commodity markets. We're going to do some technical analysis on the major stock market indices. We're going to take a look at our currency baskets, of course, and look at this week's major news reports. And then to wrap things up, we're going to be looking at some potential setups in the currency markets. In this currency recap, we will be using some advanced technical analysis. We believe technical analysis is the fundamental skill for every profitable currency trader. Maverick Currencies is currently hiring serious technical traders for a trader position. Traders will trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of the profits. If you're a technical trader with a technically based trading system, we want to meet you. Click the application link in the description below this video. Now let's break down today's market action. So kicking things off with some market analysis here. So stocks are slightly down ahead of tomorrow's payroll report, and the dollar's fallen along with treasury yields. And over in our broader market analysis, we can see S&P down very slightly on the day. The VT Total World Stock Index actually ended the day slightly up. Crypto down 1%, gold pretty much flat on the day, and oil down 2%. Over on the currency side of things, the dollar was the biggest loser today. The New Zealand dollar was the biggest winner of the day. Second place was the Aussie. The European currencies and the yen were also pretty much flat. The yen slightly down, and then the Canadian dollar down alongside the US dollar. As far as cryptocurrencies go, Litecoin is holding its head above water, but everything else down slightly. So we're sticking here with a -3 given the fact that the moving averages are crossed over in a bearish slope and we're trading below the 20 and 50 period moving averages. But as we take a closer look at a price chart of the S&P 500, you'll see that we're hovering on this support line right now. And I am seeing signs that the market is trying to find a bottom. Now, we may in fact make a slight new low in the S&P or a new low below the low from this weekly low, but I suspect that we're closer. We're starting to see the risk get skewed to more towards the upside than to the downside. So I think we will see some risk taking come back into the market. I'm personally, with my equity and stock trades, being very cautious right now. I raised a fair bit of cash in advance of the sell-off that I've been talking about for a long time that's coming, and I'm cautiously getting ready to deploy it again if we do see signs of bottoming. When I'm looking through individual names in the stock market, I am seeing some encouraging signs. So we'll see if the broader index can rally as well. As far as news goes, I mean, tomorrow is really going to be the big one. We've got payroll reports. Everyone's going to be looking at those to get a sense of what the Fed might do. And that's kind of what happens when you're in this data-dependent mode and you're trying to fight persistent inflation. It results in a lot of volatility, a lot of choppy back and forth. Now, we're going to talk about the dollar in much greater detail in just a couple of minutes, but I do want to say that regardless of what happens with the non-farm payroll report tomorrow, I believe that this period of dollar strength is very close to a peak, and we're going to see a sustained period of dollar weakness next. So without further ado, let's get into some currency analysis. Now, on the velocity score side of things, we've got the North American currencies, the dollar and the CAD, down at -3, and then in the +2 and 3 column, we have the Aussie and Kiwi dollars. So that's interesting. We're going to take a look at those when we examine the baskets, and then pretty much everything else is flat. The Swissy technically gets a +1 rating here, but when we look at the price action, you're going to see it's a very messy +1. If I was subjectively scoring here, I'd give it a 0. All right, so with that said, let's take a look at some possible trades and hop on over to TradingView. So we're going to kick things off with the yen basket, and I've been telling you guys we were gonna get that pop in the yen, and I had identified the key level. We've broken through that key level, which was the peak from Thursday, September 21st. and we're still we're hovering slightly below it, but this is looking like a really nice pullback. So I'm now actively looking to buy the yen. Waiting for the strong move, waiting for a controlled pullback, and in the individual currency pairs, if we do get that pullback, then I'm going to look to be long the yen, which means being short the yen currency pairs. So, a lot of them are good candidates. I'm really keeping an eye on dollar yen, because when dollar yen cracks, that is going to be the really big move. But, Canada yen already on its way down. And I don't think the European currency yen crosses are too far behind either. So next up, we have the dollar. And last week, I identified this key level in the dollar at 124. 124, and then critical support at 123. So we're starting to drift down. Still plenty of room in the relative strength index, the RSI on the daily chart. Look at this. I mean, whenever you see RSI coiling like this and putting in some bearish divergence, it's probably a sign that the dollar strength has actually peaked. So I'm looking at a bearish dollar here, but I really need to wait for one of these support levels to give way. This is just my own personal trading plan. I want to trade with the trend. What's the simplest definition of a trend? A series of pivot points moving in concert. So if we have a low here, a higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, we need to break this series of higher lows in order to start considering a potential change in trend. So I'm not going to be trading tomorrow myself, but I'm going to be watching. I'm going to keep my powder dry because I think the dollar reversal is a trade that's worth being patient for. So next up, we have the Swiss franc. And I mentioned I'm kind of in no man's land with the Swiss franc. I want to see what kind of reaction we have once we touch down into the support zone. And the reaction has been very underwhelming. This looks like it has all the hallmarks of a bearish continuation pattern. We might chop around in this channel for a little bit before we break lower. No setup as of yet, so just keeping an eye on it. The euro so far more or less playing along the script. We're the script I've laid out. We're stuck in the support zone right now, but I do believe we will break below the support zone eventually and test the next support zone, which coincides with the beginning of June. Similar situation with the pound. We might come back into this resistance zone, confirm it as resistance, and then drop back down. My next target coincides with the bottoms from May. The loonie also playing along very nicely. We put in that top that I've been talking about. I'm looking to sell the loonie on rallies. Pretty simple. Looking to short the Canadian dollar on any kind of rally. All right, the Aussie dollar. So we've finally broken below this this channel that I highlighted in last week's update, and we've tested the upper boundary line as resistance. We sold off, and now we're kind of trading back up, but it looks like a weak bounce. So I'm looking to sell the Aussie dollar as well. And the New Zealand dollar, kind of a similar story to the CAD. Look at how similar these patterns are. We broke out of a channel and then started to come down sharply. So in the CAD, slightly different pattern, I should say. But here, you can see the same similar trading pattern. We broke out of this channel and then came down sharply. So for now, that means I'm looking to see if the New Zealand dollar is going to roll over, but I'm frankly not all that excited by the New Zealand dollar. Kiwi CAD is something I'd keep my eye on, but pairing two commodity currencies together is a bit of a weird trade for me. So I'm going to see if the Swissy or the euro or the pound really breaks down. Pairing any of those currencies against the New Zealand dollar might be interesting if the New Zealand dollar can hold its head above water. But by far the most interesting trades to me right now involve the Canadian dollar, the US dollar, and the Japanese yen. Okay, so in conclusion, tomorrow morning, get ready for some volatility, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. That volatility is coming. That's practically a guarantee. So make sure you're playing relative strength and weakness, and given tomorrow's news events, always, we say this every week, but it's so true. It's some of the most important foundational concepts in trading. Always focus on proper position sizing. And finally, always follow your trading plan. Thanks, traders. If you're trading tomorrow, good luck. Hope you catch some pips. I'll talk to you next week.